Okay, before that, if anybody have any doubts regarding isometric projection or else development, you can ask me. Now we are in the fifth unit. So if you are having any doubts regarding fourth unit, you can ask me, or else I will continue my session. Okay, I think there is no doubt. So those who are going to join after this will be marked absent. Okay. In my last class, I have discussed about isometric projections. So we had an introduction about isometric projection, and also uh, we have discussed about a problem. But I think that problem is not has been completed. So I will continue the problem once again. So this is what our problem: a normal pentagonal pyramid. Okay. So here we are having a section plane that is actually a horizontal section plane. So this is what the top bottom portion of our uh, pentagonal pyramid. Particularly, it will be called as frustum because we are having a horizontal section plane. Okay, so this is what our normal front view and normal top view. Sorry, normal top view. So here we have to create the sectional top view. So the condition for creating the sectional top view is similar to our third unit. So you can create a sectional top view. So after creating this particular diagram, so we have to uh, mark all the points in our isometric projection. So what is called isometric projections? So the angle between the three edges should be equal, and also the length of the three edges should be equal. So that is what the condition. Okay. So for that, initially we have to create the base of our solid. Okay. So the base angle should be 30° and 30°. Okay. So that is what our condition. And also with that, we will be creating a rectangular. Initially, we will be creating the rectangular base. So from that rectangle, we will be trying to convert that rectangle into pentagon. Okay, because here our solid is pentagon. So we are going to convert the normal rectangle into pentagon. Okay. So what is our condition for rectangle? So two sides should be parallel. ஓகே ஸோ நீங்கள் உங்களோட அசைன்மெண்ட் நிறைய நான் செக் பண்ணேன். நிறைய பேர் என்ன பண்ணியிருக்கீங்கன்னா நீங்கள் பேரலல் டயக்ராம் ட்ரா பண்ணலை. ஓகே ஸோ அது என்ன கண்டிஷன் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, ஸோ இனிஷியலி யூ ஹாவ் டு கிரியேட் ரெக்டாங்கிள் தட் ஷுட் பி சரௌண்டட் வித் திஸ் 5 கார்னர். ஸோ இந்த 5 கார்னரை டச் ஆகிற மாதிரி ஒரு ரெக்டாங்கிள் கிரியேட் பண்ணிக்கோங்க. இட் மே பி ரெக்டாங்கிள் ஆர் எல்ஸ் இட் மே பி a ஸ்கொயர். So that is not our condition. So we have to join all the 5 corners of our pentagon with the vertical and horizontal line. So if we are creating this, maybe you'll be getting a rectangle or else you'll be getting a square. It is based upon the dimension. So this dimension is not important for our problem. This particular side dimension is not important for our problem. So after creating this particular rectangle, you can measure the distance of each sides. Okay, so you can measure the distance of each sides. So this one may be 40 mm, this one may be 50 mm. So it is not important. So you have to measure the dimension with your normal scale. Okay, so what is our next condition is that initially we have to create a horizontal line. So before that, you can name the each and every corner. So this particular corner has been named as P of P1, and this particular corner can be named as Q of Q1, and this one will be R of R1, and this one will be S of S1. So it is your own choice. So you can choose your own notation. So this notation should not be repeated in any points. Okay. So here we have done the notation as ABCD. Okay, ABCDE. So here we have done the notation as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can choose your own notation, but this one should be a different one. Okay. So this particular rectangle has been named as P of P1, Q of Q1, R of R1, and S of S1. Okay. So after creating this particular rectangle, you can create a horizontal line. So it can be an imaginary one. So you don't have to highlight this, and also you don't have to mention this horizontal line with a lengthier one. So the shorter horizontal line. Okay. After creating this, you can mark the first initial point. So you can mark this point as P1 because so I'm going to choose this point. Okay. So I'm going to choose this point. So this one is P1. So after creating this, I can create a line. So the angle of this line is 30 degree, and the length of this line should be equal to this particular length because I'm going to mark this point as S. Okay, so I'm going to mark this point as S1. So this particular length should be equal to this particular length. So you can measure this length and you can mark the initial line like this with an angle of 30 degree. Similar to that, we are going to create another one more inclined line in this direction. Okay, so the end point will be Q. Okay, the end point will be Q1. Okay, so what will be the length of this particular line? It is equal to P of P1 to the Q of Q1. So you can measure this particular length and you can mark the second line with an angle of 30 degree. Okay, so this particular angle is also 30 degree. And the very important point, இதை நீங்கள் யாருமே கரெக்டாக பண்ணல. இதுக்கு முன்னாடி நான் உங்களுக்கு என்ன சொல்லியிருந்தேன், அவர் லாஸ்ட் அசைன்மெண்ட் வாஸ் அப் டு திஸ் பேஸ் சொல்லியிருந்தேன். நிறைய பேர் சப்மிட் பண்ணியிருக்கீங்க, நிறைய பேர் பண்ணலை. ஓகே, ஸோ பண்ணவங்களோட மிஸ்டேக் என்ன அப்படின்னா, இந்த லைனுக்கு பேரலாக தான் இந்த இடத்துல நீங்கள் ஒரு எண்ட் லைன் கிரியேட் பண்ணணும். சிமிலர் டு தட் இந்த லைனுக்கு பேரலாக தான் இங்கே ஒரு எண்ட் லைன் கிரியேட் பண்ணணும். ஸோ யுவர் பேஸ் வாஸ் நாட் ஈக்குவல் டு பேரல் கண்டிஷன். நீங்கள் சப்மிட் பண்ண பேஸ் பேரலாக இல்லை. மோஸ்ட் ஆஃப் த ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸோட டயக்ராம் பேரலாக இல்லை. ஸோ பேஸ், அதாவது உன்னோட வீடோட அடித்தளமே நீ கரெக்டாக பண்ணலை அப்படின்னா உங்கள் வீடு என்ன ஆகுங்கிற கண்டிஷன் தான். பேஸ்மெண்ட் சரியாக இல்லை அப்படின்னா என்டையர் ஃபால்ட்டும் வந்து டயக்ராமில் நிற்கும். சிமிலர் டு தட் உங்களோட பேஸ் ரெக்டாங்கிள் ப்ராப்பராக இல்லை. ஸோ ட்ரை டு செக் வெதர் யுவர் line PQ and RS is parallel. So PQ and RS should be parallel, and also with that PS and QR should be parallel. So in the base rectangle is parallel irukka? So here it is parallel. Similar to that, here also it should be parallel. Okay, so you can create the line called Q to R. So this one is Q to R. So this Q to R should be parallel to P to S. So here it is P to S, right? So it should be parallel. Okay, similar to that, you can mark the fourth line, that is R to S. So R to S should be parallel to P to Q. Okay, this is the exact procedure. So if you are not creating the parallel lines, then your entire diagram will be look like a different condition. It will not look like a frustum of pyramid. ஃப்ரஸ்டமாக போகாது, அது வேறு மாதிரி போய் டயக்ராம் நின்றும். Okay, so what is our next condition? We can mark the 5 points because our pentagon is having a 5 corners. So we have to mark the 5 points on this particular rectangle. So what is our condition? So look at the point called A. So where it is situated. So roll number 27. Roll number 27.
Sir, yes sir.
Okay. Now point number A எங்க சிச்சுவேட் ஆயிருக்கு, எந்த இடத்துல பிளேஸ் ஆயிருக்கு, எந்த லைன் மேல பிளேஸ் ஆயிருக்குன்னு கேட்குறேன். பாயிண்ட் நம்பர் A.
Sir, yes. Sir, SS1.
எந்த லைனுக்கு 2 பாயிண்ட் இருக்கும் பார்.
Sir, SS of S1 and P of P1, sir.
கண்ணா ரிப்பீட் பண்ணு. எனக்கு ஒரு கால் வந்து கட் ஆயிருச்சு. ரிப்பீட் பண்ணு.
Sir, between S of S1 and P of P1, sir.
Okay. Okay. So the point A is situated in between S of S1 and P of P1. Okay. So we have to mark this point on this particular line because this one is P1 and this one is S1. So the point A is situated in between P to S. So the point A is available in between this particular line. Okay. So what is our condition? You can measure the distance of P to A or else you can measure the distance of S to A. It is your own choice. Okay. So this particular length is equal to this length. So you can measure the distance of P to A. Okay. Then you can place your compass exactly at the point called P1. Then you can create an arc on this line. So the cutting point will be marked as A because that is what our first in starting corner. Similar to that, you can mark the rest 4 points. Okay. So the next point is B. So where it is situated? So roll number 29.
Sir,
Okay. So the next point B, where it is situated?
sir, in between P of P1 and Q of Q1, sir.
Okay. So where we have to mark this point in this particular diagram?
Sir, P of P1 and Q of Q1.
So here it is P1 and Q1. Okay. So it is exactly available on the middle portion of our this particular line. So you can mark the point called B at exactly at this point. Okay. Similar to that, the point C is on Q of Q1 to R of R1. So you can mark this point C on this particular line. So you can measure Q to C or else you can measure R to C. If you are measuring R to C, you have to place your compass on this point. If you are measuring Q to C, you have to place your compass exactly on this particular point that is called Q1. So the point number C will be available here. Similar to that, you can mark the point called D and E. So D and E is available on R of R1 to S of S1. So point number D is nearer to R. So here we'll be getting the point number D. Okay. And also the point number E is nearer to S of S1. So here we'll be getting the point E. So after creating this particular point, you can join the 5 corners. So இது வந்து இப்போ procedure. So before going to do that procedure, we can mark the top surface. Okay. So what is the height of this solid? That is equal to 65 mm. That is what our pentagonal pyramid height. But here it is a frustum of pyramid. Okay. So here it is a frustum of pyramid. So what is the total height of this particular portion? Okay. So that means we have to find the height of this particular portion. So what is the height of this? It is equal to 65 minus 25. So the height of this particular frustum is 40 mm. So you don't have to mark this dimension because it is not available in this problem. So it is for your reference. So the height of this frustum is 40 mm. So you can create a vertical line on each and every 4 corner. So you can create a vertical line on this each and every 4 corners with a height of 40 mm. So this height will be equal to 40 mm. Okay. So the height of this particular line is equal to 40 mm. Similar to that, you can create the rest 4 vertical lines. So all the vertical lines will have a equal dimension of 40 mm. Okay. So we'll be getting 4 vertical lines on P1, Q1, R1 and S1. Okay. So now you got the next 4 points. So this one, and this one, and this one. Okay. So the bottom base will not be visible. So we have marked these P1, Q1, R1 and S1 within bracket. So look at this in our previous rectangle here. P1, Q1, R1 and S1 has been marked within bracket. That means it is the base of our solid. Similar to that, PQRS has been marked uh, outside the bracket. So this particular point will be P, and this particular point will be Q, and this particular point will be R, and this one will be S. So you can join this P, Q, R, and S, and also P with a normal line. So now this is what our square prism. So in this square prism, we have to convert this diagram into a okay. We have to convert this into pentagonal frustum of pyramid. Okay, so you can mark all the points. So just a minute. கன்னடா பேச கேக்குதா? யாராவது ரெஸ்பாண்ட்
Yes, sir.
பண்ணுங்க. யாராவது பேச
Yes, sir.
கேக்குதா? ஓகே. ஸோ ஒரு சடனாக ஒரு கால் வந்துட்டே இருந்தது ரிப்பீட்டடாக, அதை என்னன்னு புரியல, அதை அட்டன் பண்ண வேண்டியதாக போச்சு. ஓகே, ஸோ இஸ் there any doubt up to this slide? So anybody is having any doubt up to this slide? Okay, so now you got the base square, and also now you got the top square. Okay, so the top portion, that is equal to this particular side value. Similar to that, this particular, okay, just a minute. So the top surface will be equal to the size of this particular value, and the bottom square will be equal to this value. So now you can create the base and also the top surface. So the base, I already சொல்லிட்டேன். So here it is point number A, and here it is point number B, and here it is point number C, and here it is point number D, and here it is point number E. So we'll be having 5 points. So you can join all the 5 points with a thick line. So before going to create this thick line, please remember one thing. Now you are the observer position is this. So you are looking from this direction. Okay, you are looking from this direction. So if you are looking from this direction, this particular uh, edge and this particular edge will not be visible because it is a 3D structure. Okay, if it is a 3D structure, if it is a 3D diagram, please take your geometry box, or else you can take any square prism. Okay, you can't able to see the back side edges. You can't able to see the back side edges. So the backside edges should be drawn with the help of a dotted line. So if you are looking from this direction, only you can able to see this particular edge, and you can able to see this particular edge, and you can able to see this particular edge. So இங்கிருந்து பார்க்கும்போது there is no obstacle on this particular edge, and also there is no obstacle on this particular edge, and there is no obstacle on this particular edge. But for this C and D, C to D and D to E, அதுக்கு முன்னாடி நம்மளுக்கு என்ன இருக்கு? Edges இருக்கா? So you have to draw these edges with a dotted line. Okay, now we got the base pentagon. And what is the structure of this top surface? So the structure of this top surface is also a pentagon. So that is what drawn here. It is also a pentagon. So we have to draw this pentagon on this top surface called PQRS. So this is what our top surface. We have to draw this pentagon on this top surface. So anybody has any idea how to draw this pentagon on this top surface? யாருக்காவது ஐடியா இருக்கா?
Square order intersect point.
Square order intersect point. So we have to create the same square. I think it is recording. Okay. So we have to create the top square. Okay. Similar to our base condition. So for this base pentagon, we have created an imaginary square with a notation of PQRS. Okay. Similar to that, here we can mark the second square. So like this. So it is also an imaginary one. So now you have to join all the 5 points with a imaginary rectangle or else imaginary square. Okay. So this particular rectangle is available exactly on the middle of this particular rectangle. Exactly available on this middle. Okay. So what is our condition? So this particular corner will be having a distance of a vertical distance, and also will be having a distance of horizontal distance like this. Okay, it is having a 2 dimension from the edge called R to S, and also will be having a distance from the edge called P to S. Okay, so this one is P to S and this one is R to S. Okay, so what you can do, so you can mark this particular edge. So this edge is having a distance of distance from R to S, and also will be having a distance from P to S. So you can mark the particular point on this surface. So with this distance and with this distance. So this distance should be parallel to this particular line, and this particular distance should be parallel to this line. So ஒரு parallel line. புரிஞ்சுதா? Okay, so இந்த பிஎஸ்க்கு பேரலாக ஒரு லைன் இங்கேருந்து கிரியேட் பண்ணுங்க. சிமிலர் டு தட் இந்த ஆர்எஸ்க்கு பேரலாக ஒரு லைன் இங்கேருந்து கிரியேட் பண்ணுங்க. So the intersecting point of these two lines will be the edge of this particular rectangle. Now we have created this edge. Similar to that, all the edges will be having a distance of a horizontal line and a vertical line. So like this, all the edges will be having a particular distance. Similar to that, you can mark that particular distance at here. So you'll be getting the 4 corner like this. So these lines should be drawn only with the help of 2H pencil. Please don't use HB pencil because it is a construction line. So these lines will be called as construction lines. So these lines are not necessary for our diagram. Okay, so after creating these four corners, now you can join these corners with the parallel lines. Okay, so please remember one thing, this line should be parallel to this line, and this particular line should be parallel to this line. So, and also this one should be parallel to this one, and this one should be parallel to this one. Okay, it is very, very important. Similar to that, all the construction lines should be parallel to the necessary line. Okay, so this is what our condition. So the condition will be similar to this. Okay, so you can mark the four corners, or else you can do one thing. Like this particular slide, you can mark instead of creating the particular square, you can mark directly the five corners. So இது ஒரு procedure. இப்போ நான் சொன்னது ஒரு procedure. So you can do like that, or else in this slide it is created based on creation of three lines. So you can create first line, and you can create this second line, and you can create this third line on this particular five corners. So in this line, so in the first line, point number 4 and 5 is available. On the second line, point number 1 and point number 3 is available. Similar to that, in this third line, point number 2 is available. Okay, so these three lines will be having a distance of different distance. So you can measure these distance. Okay, you can measure these particular distances. Similar to that, you can mark the three lines parallel to the line called R2S, because these three lines are parallel to this particular line. So you can create the three parallel lines like this. Okay, so after creating these three lines, you can mark the point number 5. You can mark the points called point number 4 and 5 on this particular line. So it is point number 4 and 5, and similar to that, point number 1 and 3 can be marked on this line, and point number 2 can be marked on this line. So this one is 1, and this one is 2, this one is 3, and this one is 4, and this one is 5. Okay, I will show you the procedure. So initially you can create the line called T, so it is marked as T. Okay, and the second line, so that is marked as U, and the third line, that is marked as V. You can mark these three lines, or that should be parallel to the edge called R2S. So you can mark the three lines on this top surface. So it should be parallel. So this line and this line should be parallel. So you can measure the distance of this particular surface. Okay, you can measure this distance, and you can mark the distance at here. Similar to that, this particular distance can be measured, and that can be marked at this place. Okay, similar to that, the last line, that can be measured on this surface, and that particular measurement can be marked at here. So after creating this lines, you can mark the point number 4 on this line. So the point number 4 is having a distance of this particular distance can be measured. Okay, and that can be marked at this place. Similar to that, point number 5 at this distance. So point number 5 is also available on this particular line called T, and you can mark point number 5 here. And point number 1 and 3 is available on the line called U. So you can measure these horizontal distances, and you can mark the distance at here. Okay, similar to that, you can mark all the 5 points. So the ரெண்டு procedure follow பண்ணலாம். So உங்களோட இஷ்டம் தான். Okay, so now you can join these 5 corners with a bold line. Okay, so here all the 5 edges will be visible because it is a top surface. So the top surface is fully visible. நான் எப்படி சொன்னேன், நான் இதுக்கு முன்னாடி சொன்ன ப்ரொசீஜர் தான். உங்கள் வீட்டுக்கு சைடில் ஒரு வீடு இருந்து அதோட 2வது மாடியிலிருந்து பார்த்தீங்க அப்படின்னா உங்களுக்கு என்ன தெரியும், கம்பல்சரி டாப் தெரியும், ஒரு சைட் தெரியும், இதான் சைட், இதுதான் ஃப்ரண்ட். Okay, அதே மாதிரி டாப்பும் தெரியும். So these three surfaces will be visible. So the top surface is fully visible. So you can mark all the 5 points with a bold line. Okay, so now you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Similar to that, you have marked the base. Okay, so you can join the top 5 corners with the base 5 corners. Okay, you can mark the top 5 corners with the base 5 corners. So எந்தெந்த corner எது கூட joined ஆயிருக்கு. So point number 1, so look at the top view. So point number 1 is joined with point number A. So point number 2 has been joined with point number B. So you can mark 1 to A and you can mark 2 to B. Similar to that, point number 3 with point called C. So you can mark this one also. Similar to that, point number 4 with the point number D. But point number 4 with the point number D is at the back side. So you have to join this particular line with the dotted line. And point number 5 with the point number E. Okay, so you can mark the 4 slant edges with a dark line and 1 slant edge should be dotted line. So this one is the top surface. It is having a section line. So you can create the hatching line on this surface like this. Okay, is it clear? So this is our final diagram. So this particular diagram will be called as isometric projection. Is it clear? Doubts? Do you have any doubts? Okay, this is our first isometric projection. Similar to that, you can mark the second diagram. Okay, the second question is that it is a pentagonal pyramid. Okay, it is a pentagonal pyramid, but here it is not a frustum. So there is a mistake on this question. It is not a frustum of pyramid because we are having a section line with inclination. Okay, so the section line is with inclination, so it is not a frustum, it is a truncated pyramid. Okay, so for this particular front view and top view, we have to create the isometric projection. Okay, so இதுக்கு முன்னாடி பண்ணது top surface flat இருந்துச்சு, so we have created the top surface easily, but here it is having an inclination, so this inclination should be marked perfectly. So it will be somewhat different, somewhat difficult from our previous question. So previous question compare பண்ணும்போது இது கொஞ்சம் different இருக்கும். Okay, so for our today's class work, you have to complete our first diagram. That means this one. நீங்க பாதி ஆல்ரெடி நீங்க draw பண்ணிட்டீங்க. So only you have to create this diagram. Similar to that, you have to submit the front view and top view for this particular problem. முடிஞ்சா ஐசோமெட்ரிக் ப்ரொஜெக்ஷனும் நீங்கள் ட்ரா பண்ண ட்ரை பண்ணுங்கள். நீயா ட்ரா பண்ணிட்ட அப்படின்னா அதுக்கப்புறம் உனக்கு ஐசோமெட்ரிக் வந்து ஒரு ப்ராப்ளம் கிடையாது. Okay, so I'm going to explain this second problem with my next PPT. Okay, so my second problem is a pentagonal pyramid. So here it is okay because it is a truncated one. So this is our second problem. So இன்னைக்கு கிளாஸ் ஒர்க்கு நீ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ப்ராப்ளமோட ஐசோமெட்ரிக் ப்ரொஜெக்ஷன் இந்த செகண்ட் ப்ராப்ளமை முடிஞ்ச வரைக்கும் கம்ப்ளீட் பண்ணுங்க. ஸோ இப்போ நான் எப்போ எது வரைக்கும் சொல்லி முடிக்கணும் அது வரைக்கும் கம்பல்சரி ட்ரா பண்ணணும். முடிஞ்சா ஐசோமெட்ரிக் டயக்ராமும் நீங்கள் கம்ப்ளீட் பண்ணணும். ஸோ இட் இஸ் அ pentagonal pyramid, edge of base 30 mm and axis 65 mm long. So rests with its base on HP. So the base is on HP. So the top view will look like a pentagon, and an edge of the base is parallel to VP and nearer to it. So it is like our previous condition, and a section plane is perpendicular to VP and inclined at 30° to HP. So it is having an inclined section plane. So cuts the pyramid and passing through a point on the axis at a height of 35 mm from the base. So the distance of section plane is also available. So here we have to draw the isometric projection of a truncated pyramid. So we have to show the cut surfaces also. That means you have to create a section line on the isometric projection. So you can create a reference line, then you can create a pentagon. So this pentagon should be one edge should be parallel to the reference line. So this particular edge is parallel to the reference line and also nearer to it. It is like our previous problem. So you can create 5 slant edges, and you can project all the 5 slant edges towards your front view, and you can create the triangle on our front view. So the front view வந்து triangular தெரியும், and you can mark the slant edges. So the visible slant edges should be marked with dark line, and invisible slant edges should be marked with dotted line. So the D2O and visible slant edges, so we have to mark these slant edges with a dotted line. Okay. So after creating this, our condition is that we have to create a section plane that should be 30° to HP and also passing through at the height of 35 mm from the base. So from the base, you can create a point with a height of 35 mm. So this particular height should be 35 mm. So after creating this, you can create a section plane that should be 30°. So either you can create at this angle, so this angle should be 30°, or else you can create with this direction. So it is your own choice. Okay, so you can create a section plane. Then you can remove the top portion. So you can have to highlight the bottom portion. Okay, so this is what our cut section front view. Okay. So after creating this, you have to project all the cutting points towards your top view. Then you have to mark the 5 cutting points, and also you have to join all the cutting points with a straight line. So this is what our cut section. Is it okay? Is it clear? So similar to our previous problem, there is no cut section. That means there is no section plane on the base. So the section plane is not passing through the base. So you can create the isometric projection similar to our previous problem. So the base is similar to our previous problem. So you can create the base. Okay, so in our previous problem, we have created the front view on this direction. We have created the front view on this direction, but here we have created the front view on this direction. So நான் எப்படி சொல்றேன்னு உங்களுக்கு புரியுதா? So look at this. This is what our front view. Okay, so in this top view, this is our front view. So the first starting point is B. So in our previous diagram, we have created the point called B on this place, but here we have created the point called B on this place. That means in our previous diagram, the front view was on this direction. Here the front view is in this direction. So in our previous diagram, we have marked this point called P on this place. Okay, so here we have marked the point called Q on this place. So there is no difference. உனக்கு எந்த டைரக்ஷன்ல வேணாலும் நீ கிரியேட் பண்ணலாம். ஆனா இந்த டயக்ராமை நீங்க என்ன பண்ணுங்க, இந்த டைரக்ஷன்ல கிரியேட் பண்ணுங்க. இதுல இருக்கிற மாதிரியே கிரியேட் பண்ணுங்க. அதாவது பாயிண்ட் Qவை இந்த ஹாரிசான்டல் லைன்ல டச் ஆகுற மாதிரி வச்சு கிரியேட் பண்ணுங்க. ஏன்னா டிஃபரன்ஸ் எப்படி கொண்டு வரணும்னு தெரிஞ்சாதான் உங்களால டயக்ராம் ட்ரா பண்ண முடியும். ஓகே, ஸோ இப்போ இந்த மாதிரி நீ பாயிண்ட் கியூவை கிரியேட் பண்ணீங்கன்னா தான் உன்னால் என்ன பண்ண முடியும், we can able to show the cut surface because it is a inclined one. So it is a inclined cut surface. So இந்த inclined cut surface கியூங்கிற பாயிண்ட் இந்த இடத்துல டச் ஆகிற மாதிரி ட்ரா பண்ணினா தான் உனக்கு தெரியும். பிங்கிற பாயிண்ட் டச் ஆகிற மாதிரி வச்ச அப்படின்னா உனக்கு அந்த கட் சர்ஃபேஸ் தெரியாது. ஸோ நான் சொல்கிறது புரியுதா? So in our previous diagram, we have marked the base with, starting with the point called B. So here we have to mark the base with a starting point called Q. So you can create the point Q first, then you can mark the point P. Next, then you can mark the point R as a next point. Is it okay? So after creating this base, you can mark the 5 corners like A, B, C, D, E. So and also with that you can join these 5 corners with the bold line. So in this diagram, so edge AB will be visible and edge BC will be visible and edge CD also will be visible. So this particular edge AE will not be visible. Similar to that, this particular edge DE will not be visible. Because if you are looking from this direction, you can able to see the surface and also you can able to see the surface. So these particular surfaces will not be visible. Is it okay? Do you have any doubts? So you have to submit your second diagram up to this. If possible, try to complete the total isometric projection. ஏன்னா நான் டீச் பண்ணுறதுக்கு முன்னாடியே நீ ட்ரா பண்ண முயற்சி பண்ண அப்படின்னா உனக்கு நிறைய கொஸ்டின்ஸ் வரும். அந்த கொஸ்டினை எனக்கு நெக்ஸ்ட் கிளாஸில் நீ என்கிட்ட கேட்கலாம். ஓகே, ட்ரை டு கம்ப்ளீட் அப் டு திஸ். முடிஞ்ச வரைக்கும் நீ ஐசோமெட்ரிக் ப்ரொஜெக்ஷனை ஃபுல்லாகவே கம்ப்ளீட் பண்ண ட்ரை பண்ணுங்க. ஓகே ஓகே கண்ணா. ஸோ டூ யூ ஹாவ் எனி டவுட்ஸ்? Okay, so please remember one thing. I will complete your, I will put a mark for your first assignment for 2.5 marks. நான் ஆல்ரெடி சொன்ன மாதிரியே தான் உங்களுக்கு வந்து 2 அசைன்மெண்ட் நான் கரெக்ஷன் பண்ணுவேன். ஸோ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஒன் இஸ் 2.5 marks அண்ட் செகண்ட் ஒன் இஸ் 2.5 mark. நான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் அசைன்மெண்ட் கரெக்ஷன் பண்ணிடுவேன், அதாவது வித்தின் டுமாரோ. ஓகே, ஸோ அதனால் அப் டு 3rd யூனிட் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் அசைன்மெண்ட் அண்ட் 4th and 5th யூனிட் செகண்ட் அசைன்மெண்ட். ஓகே, உங்களுக்கு 2.5 மார்க் ரிட்டர்ன் ஆகும். ஸோ நீங்கள் உங்களோட மார்க்கை நீங்கள் செக் பண்ணிக்கலாம்.